Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Excuse me. Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. That's probably the biggest fight in heavyweight boxing that can be made. No matter what differences we have or boxing fans have when it comes to boxing matches at different weight divisions, put on a little chapstick, all right? Got to get it in the mustache too. No matter what differences the boxing fans have, right? When it comes to fighters in different weight divisions, I think we'd all agree. At this point in time, I mean, you got Yardy, Bertabiev, you got Bertabiev, maybe Bivol. You still got the Crawford Spence thing. You got Plant, Benavidez. You got Jamal Charlo back. I mean, you got some big fights that can be made. Usyk and Fury is a big fight, but that's not really intriguing. But the biggest fight that can be made, I mean, you got Boots out there, but the biggest fight that can be made is Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. And this is the fight for Nigeria, okay? The American Nigerian versus the UK Nigerian. And that's how I see it. These guys, if they were to fight, this is a fight that needs to be held in Nigeria. Now, for those of you out there who may be laughing, man, what the hell is an American Nigerian and a UK Nigerian? In case you didn't know, both of these guys come from Nigerian heritage, right? Right? It's like myself. I'm born here in the United States, but I come from Trinidad and Tobago heritage, right? I can claim that. It is what it is. And the people from those countries will receive you as their own. You have to represent it. And Deontay Wilder is representing it, and we already know Anthony Joshua is. But before I get more into that, right, because there's some people are saying, okay, we kind of get AJ, his parents are from Nigeria. What the hell is this with Deontay Wilder? Well, you got to be fair, right? But even before we get into that, why in the world didn't Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fight happen a few years ago? Okay, so just the short and sweet, because a lot of us are already abreast of why Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua didn't happen, right? There was some finger pointing going on initially, but at the end of the day, DAZN and Eddie Hearn tried to play Deontay Wilder. DAZN came out and said it. Eddie Hearn came out and said it. They could have handled him better and treated him better. The DAZN reps came out and said that. Those were their words. So it is what it is. But what we do know, right, at that time at the forefront of negotiations, right, there were people who were kind of given an inside track on kind of the development and what those sticking points were. And although Deontay Wilder's team was trying to get beyond those impediments, Eddie Hearn, DAZN, they didn't want to really remove him. They wanted to remain steadfast in their position, and it's either take it or leave it. And Wilder and his team didn't want to do that. So the contract arrived with Deontay Wilder's advisor and co-manager Shelly Finkel. And this is back in 2018, right? With only clarification on 2 points that were needed before the Bronze Bomber signed the deal. Okay. Now, what Finkel told several news outlets, they looked at the contract on a Monday, raised 2 specific details, and the paperwork that it needed clarification. As frustrating as Eddie Hearn states in the media that we need to be quick and sign the contract. Doesn't that sound like what Tyson Fury was doing to Eddie Hearn when they came to this recently to this AJ fight? Quickly sign the contract, get it back right now. But how can we sign if they don't respond to our email and clarify our concerns? Kind of sound like what Fury was doing to AJ, right? If we're being rushed, we need to hear back from Barry to be able to complete things on our side. Now, this is where, remember, Eddie Hearn kind of got pushed to the side, and Finkel and Eddie Hearn's dad were actually talking to try to sort things out because they're both old heads. They go back many years, and we figured that those two can make the deal happen. So at that time where Barry and Finkel were talking and trying to get those discussion points, those sticking points resolved, it looked like they would have had resolution within a week or so. But what happened is Shirley Finkel says that things went way wrong on that timeline, man, because the Zone and Eddie Hearn just were offering a flat rate, $40 million for Deontay Wilder. He would have made $80 million. And Eddie Hearn was just in the media pushing the fact that, it's $80 million, he's walking away from $80 million. It's a 2-fight deal, $40 million flat. Now, that $40 million flat is a lot of money. But if you look at that, right? The back end. You look at Tyson Fury and what he was trying to push on Joshua. You look at the whole Spence and Crawford thing. When it comes to these flat fees, when it comes to rushing your contract, when it comes to no disclosure on what's going on in the back end, that creates problems, okay? And essentially, the fight fell apart. So Eddie Hearn and AJ, if you look at how much money AJ's made in his fights with Usyk, even in what he made against Andy Ruiz, you look at what he made against Dillian White, and then you look at Deontay Wilder just getting a flat fee. If AJ and Deontay Wilder, who were at their peaks at the time, would have went in for an undisputed distinction, and that fight would have been held whether in Nigeria or over there in the Middle East, Anthony Joshua probably would have walked away with probably about $200 million. I'm just saying. And Deontay Wilder would have got a flat 40. And then he would have been contracted to fight a second fight for another flat 40, and AJ would have went on to make whatever. That is shrewd business. That's what they tried to push on Deontay Wilder because they thought that he was some naive country bumpkin with a dumb team, and they learned the hard way about Deontay Wilder. And look at him now. Things have come full circle. He didn't sell his soul. But they didn't treat him right. And that's what happened with that. So now you look at they're trying to come and sort out a fight now for Deontay Wilder and AJ again. Right? Like they're really trying to make that fight. But Anthony Joshua, he's being warned not to waste time with Deontay Wilder when it comes to negotiations again. Because we got to understand, when those respective teams were in talks for that potential super fight back around 2018, 2019, those negotiations never bore any fruit, right? Understand shit. It never bore any fruit. So now both men are in different spaces in their career, and they want to make the fight. The promoters seem like they're fairly open to making the fight more than ever now, because I think neither one of them hold the same position they once held. I think they both know the money earning potential now. They both know that these fights can happen in a number of places, but if you really want to chase the money, you can go over there to the Middle East. They know that it can work. The cultural differences, some of the hang-ups with religion, some of the hang-ups as far as what behavior is acceptable, they see that there's a lot of things that they can do there. So I think a lot of the apprehensions before are out the window. But when it comes to where they can hold a fight, the apprehensions now is a matter of who's going to come to the negotiation table and be fair. And let's sort things out. So right now, Deontay Wilder has to fight Ruiz. Anthony Joshua doesn't have an opponent. Now he's looking for one. But this is the thing, right? AJ can't dilly-dally too much with this Deontay Wilder fight. Now what I think is AJ and Eddie Hearn, they're going to have to sit back and figure things out, because Wilder is not going to be willing to sit around and wait for AJ and Hearn to almost pick him. Deontay Wilder has become his own brand. They don't have time to wait around for this fight to fall apart a second time. Deontay Wilder gave himself 3 years. 3 years left to fight. This first year is almost over. So he has 2 more years left. Deontay Wilder's not going to sit here and play around. So if they want to fight and they want to get it going, they need to come in here and agree to something and get something in place. So where after Anthony Joshua has his fight in March, whether Deontay Wilder fights before him, after the Anthony Joshua fight, they can get in the ring together and announce their fight for later in the year. That to me would be optimal, but that may be a little too far in mind. So we'll see. But I'll say this: I personally am not going to hold my breath that Deontay Wilder is fighting Joshua next because he has to fight Ruiz. I'm not necessarily going to hold my breath that after Ruiz he's going to fight AJ. For Ruiz, who knows who? I mean, for Anthony Joshua, who knows who he's going to fight early next year, and then who knows who he's going to fight after that. But what I will say is this. Deontay Wilder becomes Fury's mandatory if he beats Ruiz, right? Fury's locked down next year for 2 fights if he gets off the ground with this Usyk negotiations. So the whole 2023, Fury's out of there. So Deontay Wilder gets held in limbo. And he'll need to fight after Ruiz. Anthony Joshua goes fights whoever he wants in March. Then they're talking about Dillian White. That's not the fight to make. Dillian White's like the third choice. Dillian White's not going to get the AJ fight. Dillian White looked horrible. And Joshua would decimate him. Worse this time if they fought. But the big money fight, I think Eddie Hearn would be open to it, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So you look at it, stars are lining up. There's no reason why sometime middle of next year, we can have the fight for Nigeria. The American Nigerian versus the UK Nigerian. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if that plays out. Now, there are a lot of people out here who's saying, oh man, okay, what's this crap about Deontay Wilder being an African, being from Nigeria? They know that Deontay Wilder is very proud of being a black man, being from Alabama. He, I actually went to a leadership course out there in Alabama. And when you go visit, like, some of the memorials and stuff out there about slavery and Martin Luther King and stuff, that stuff is very, it can get you emotional, man. Like, when you're walking through those places and they have the videos and stuff playing in the background, man, and you're watching that, like, that's not something I don't think a person should look at every day. That shit can mess with you. History, excuse me, I got the hiccups. The history of that whole thing, man, as far as oppression and slavery is just bad. Bad, bad, bad. So Deontay Wilder growing up in Alabama with such a rich history in bad things when it comes to race kind of gives you a self of identity and makes you kind of appreciate who you are, right? But he decided that he was going to go back, which I wasn't surprised he did this, and he traced his heritage, African heritage. So what he realized is that his heritage, I'm hiccuping like a mug, yeah? His heritage goes back to the Edo State in Nigeria. And what he realized, right, that when he studied on the Edo State Nigeria, I'm hiccuping, boy, he said that that he felt then even more that he was supposed to be a warrior. And the Edo State, my understanding is southern region of Nigeria, and Deontay Wilder feels that that's where his blood comes from, and he shares the blood of the Benign people, and he feels he's supposed to be representing the ancient land. So a lot of the Nigerian fans are supporting Deontay Wilder, and when he dressed up with some of the accessories, a lot of people were very happy, very, very excited, because he talks about how he feels that runs through his blood, permeates through his veins, and that he wants to make sure he represents for all Africans, especially Nigerians and just black people. He wants to represent them well. Now, for me, right, when you talk about Deontay Wilder and being an African, okay, we just got to be real when it comes to that. There's nothing wrong with being proud of where you're understanding your history, understanding your ancestry. But Anthony Joshua, both of his parents are from there. He has a whole lot of family there. And it's a kind of interesting story. So the Joshuas are well known in Sagamu, and Sagamu is a small, quiet town there in Nigeria. So his ancestry goes back many generations, okay? His great-grandfather is Daniel Adubambo Joshua. He was a wealthy landowner and merchant who was believed to have taken the last name after his conversion to Christianity. Daniel sent one of his sons, Isaac Olaseni Joshua, to Britain to study, and he eventually married an Irish woman who returned with him to Nigeria, where they raised 7 children. One of those children, Robert, ended up marrying Yeti Odosanya, also from Sagamu, and is father to Anthony and his sister Janet. His middle name is Olaseni in honor of his grandfather. His recent sporting exploits have ensured that the family name is quite popular, not only in the town, but across the nation and beyond. Joshua is very proud of his Nigerian heritage, with the most obvious sign being the tattoo, which we all see that on the shoulder. The Nigerian flag is always proudly and prominently displayed alongside the Union Jack in the ring during his fights. His ring walks in his 2 fights against Andy Ruiz featured hits from Nigerian musical icons like Burna Boy and Femi Kuti, son of Afrobeat legend Fela Kuti. His love for Nigerian music is evident on the social media handles and sings along to tunes from the West African nation. Along with his favorite thing from Nigeria is the cuisine, and again, he often shows off his cooking skills and the nation's culinary staples. Joshua's love for Nigeria has also seen him send food and care packages to families affected by the coronavirus pandemic. More recently, he took to social media to show solidarity with youths protesting police brutality in Nigeria. Even the Nigerian president, Muhammadu Buhari, is a fan. The two met in London in January, where Joshua was presented with belts, right? So when you look at that, I understand people saying, well, Joshua kind of fits more as far as being Nigerian. But there's a whole lot of people, man, who don't take time to understand where their ancestors came from, and that is important, man. That gives you a sense of closure because that is so important. There's so many people here. I remember being in school. I'm going to kill this video here in a second, but I remember being in school and I had these 2 friends. And their real names were American names, but they just came up with these names for themselves. And I remember saying, why are these guys calling themselves that? And then I was like, yo, so if you call yourself this when your dad and mom named you that, so what kind of name would I have? And they would say, oh man, your name is fine the way it is. I don't have a typical American name. But I remember thinking, so if my name is okay, which was no problem with me, why are you guys not happy with your name? But fast forward, that was like 12, 13 year olds, as a 12 or 13 year old conversation. Fast forward to now, I'm 47. And I understand now, because they totally changed their names and everything. But those guys, it was coming from inside their house, conversation they were having with the dad and mom. It was more about them, who they are, where their ancestors came from. I never really understood, because in my house, that really wasn't the talk. You know what I'm saying? And in my house, that's not the talk. But for those guys, that's from young kids. That's kind of, I think his dad may have been a Black Panther or something. Now that we got older, I see that his dad was involved in some of that. So there was certain things they were talked to and drilled into him that gave him a sense of identity. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but I'm just saying at a young age, they were like that. You look at them now, they are very aware. They decided to change their names because they had a good understanding of where their ancestors came from and stuff like that. So when you see guys like Deontay Wilder later in life doing that, they should be commended. I think anyone should. There's a lot of people over here in America. It's not a black thing, a white thing. I mean, guys are from different parts of Europe. Ancestors come from. So many people, guys in parts of Asia, a lot of people biracial, multiracial. Take time to find out where you came from. Deontay Wilder did, and it gave him a sense of identity, and it gave him a sense of closure, and it gave him a sense of pride. And that's why I'm saying this is the fight for Nigeria, if they're able to make it. The American Nigerian versus the UK Nigerian. And I think it's absolutely amazing. Who do I think wins? The fans win. You know what I'm saying? This is a fight where whoever lands first. I'm telling you right now. People talk about Joshua's chin. Hey, look. If Joshua hits Wilder, Wilder's out of there. If Wilder hits Joshua, Joshua's out of there. This shit may be boring. I'm going to tell you that right now, because both of them are going to be scared to get hit. But it's going to be entertaining, because once the leather starts flying, someone's going down. Faster than a plate of Alabama barbecue. That being said, y'all be cool. Shout out to the veterans. Shout out to the Africans. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.